But it's just this happens over and over and over. Every time the market's quiet, day one, I'm disciplined. Look at how disciplined I am. I've learned I'm not taking a trade. Day two, I'm going to compromise my setups a bit. This is a bit silly. Day three, boom, terrible mistake.
So instead, how about day one? You say, okay, looks like the market is not, and I know that I'm going to need connection still. I know I'm going to need adventure still, and get other things started up. Start cooking other pots.
I've seen this to my dad. Do you know what it is? My mum and dad know this, and I don't even know. My mum and dad are like, you need things to do, because when the markets go quiet, you're making mistakes and you're losing money. And buying a surfboard and a wetsuit, there's good surfing where I live. Buying a surfboard and a wetsuit is a lot cheaper than the market mistakes.
Welcome back to the SteadyTrade podcast with me, Kim Ann Curtin, and Stephen Johnson. Hi, Stephen.
Hello there.
How are you?
Very conscious, very in touch with life. I've just moved apartment and got some good spaces to meditate. Been really putting out like 45 minutes to an hour a day, first thing in the morning.
Wow, beautiful.
In a very open space environment, sun coming through the windows.
Nice.
So I'm like mega present.
It's so beautiful. It's awesome. It's nice to be with you when you're so present.
And how are you?
Love it. I'm doing good. I've been having some fun, which you joined me on my Instagram Live. I'm doing Tuesday and Thursday market close, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And I'm doing speed coaching, and it's gone very, very well. And we have volunteers every Tuesday and Thursday who do laser coaching session. You came on my first Instagram Live.
It's beautiful. So basically you got laser coaching for people to unpack the emotional aspects of trading as they happen.
Yes.
Stop that shit building up.
Yes.
Drop
it. Dump it out on the table and swamp it out, and then let it go.
Because just like the cheetah or the gazelle that got chased, when that gazelle has finished being chased, it shakes. Why does it shake? Because it doesn't store that emotional baggage. It lets it out and it just moves on. But somehow as humans, we have this predisposition to swallow and hold in this stress that can cause problems in later life and develop complications in how we think and how we feel.
Absolutely. And potentially impact your trading the next day.
So you basically unpack that shit, right? Unpack it.
That's it. And most times I think what we need, all of us need this, not just in the midst of our trading, is we need somebody to be able to just hold space for us where we feel heard, where we feel seen, where it's because sometimes when you just say it out loud, it dispels it. It's like if you don't speak it out loud to somebody who's really listening to you, then it can kind of stay inside your head and bounce around off the walls. But just having people that really listen without necessarily trying to fix it. It's not that I don't coach, and it's not that I don't sometimes offer a solution or a remedy of some sort. But the heart of what I think makes coaching successful, even for my own coaching, is just having somebody listen.
I totally agree with you. And I also think that people act on thoughts and thoughts form decisions. So if you don't change that thought process, you're going to keep on making the wrong decision. And then when you take that action, you're going to repeat the same incorrect action. That's going to keep on affecting your trading in a negative way.
Absolutely.
So we need to break the cycle of the thought process. And I think when you unpack that during that laser session, you're unpacking it, and that's kind of breaking the thought pattern, right?
Yep.
I'm guessing. I don't know the ins and outs.
So true, because what happens is once you start talking about it out loud and explaining it to somebody else, what's going on inside of your head, you become conscious to what your own thoughts are. You hear yourself and you're like, holy shit, do I actually believe that? Like, I remember once with one of my first coaching sessions with my coach, when I first was, I hired a coach before I became a coach, and I was in her coaching session. And you know what I was doing? I was going on a trip with a guy that I really liked.
Nice.
And my girlfriend, we didn't know if he liked me back. So I was with my girlfriend talking about it, and she was like, you can't go on this trip. What if it comes out that you really like him and he doesn't like you back? You're going to be stuck on this road trip in the middle of nowhere with a guy who isn't interested back with you. She's like, you can't go on this trip. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I can't. I'm going to have to cancel the trip. And it just so happened that afternoon I had my coach, and I went to my coach and I was like, I can't go on this trip. And she knew it was like, a big deal that I was going with this guy that I liked. And she's like, why not? I'm like, what if it comes out that I like him and he doesn't like me back? And she literally looked at me and she said, so? And I said, well, I'll be mortified. I'll be embarrassed. I'll be blah, blah, blah. And she's like, so? And I was like, she doesn't seem to be getting it. And she goes, Kim, after what you've lived through, I think that'll take you less than 24 hours to bounce back from. And I was like, of course, that's all it'll take me. Like, and that's exactly what happened. It came out that I had these feelings for him. He did not feel the same way. I think it took me 8 hours to recover. And at some point I was a little rude to him in the restaurant because, I felt embarrassed. Yeah. And then he was like, he goes, you just told me that you like me, but now you're being really mean to me. Can you explain how that works? And I was like, I'm a woman. We don't make sense. Yeah. And that was the end of it. And we were back to normal the next day because we were really good friends. So it just taught me, like, sometimes we just need to see that, like, what we think is such a big deal maybe isn't such a big deal.
No, but also we're just talking about Tale of the Bronx beforehand, and when one friend runs after the other and says, $50, that guy owes us $50, and he's really annoyed about it, and the other man, the wiser man, say, for example, says, well, isn't it very good, because for a very cheap price you found out that someone isn't loyal or someone isn't a good person. It's very, very cheap price to find out that you shouldn't be that person's friend anymore. And it just makes us think of you to think, well, you're dramatizing this in a very big way, but ultimately it just cost you a trip to find out that you can now move on. It was just the price of a short trip to find out that you haven't met the right one yet.
Correct. And it was a great trip, and we had a really good time, and all of that, and yes, I was embarrassed in that restaurant, when I said what I said and told him the truth, and he didn't feel the same way. But the embarrassment wasn't as bad as the idea of the embarrassment.
No, because we're brains are hardwired to protect with. So they like to propose the most catastrophic situation so that we'll not have to relive the trauma in the future. But we'll always need to realize that our brains having our best interests isn't sometimes our best interests.
Totally. One of my other coaches, I remember he taught me this statement. He said, so many times the dragon that we're the most afraid of, that we refuse to look at, when we finally find the courage to do so, it turns out that dragon is actually just a gerbil in drag.
No, but it's true though. I mean, it's like every memory has a place in the brain, and every time you revisit it with the same emotional high intensity and the high state, it almost adds to it. For sure. It's power stores. It's like if you feed the ego gets bigger. If you feed the gremlin gets bigger. It's all based on that stuff. But which takes us back to the importance of unpacking. Yeah. Because I might unpack something and my thought process is incorrect, and you might just say that again. And I'll be like, So what I want to unpack with you is so the context with me, and I guess you'll do this with people live. So it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, you'll do this with people live, right? So this is what people can expect. So the thing that I want to unpack is I was trading super well, super disciplined, cutting losses at 1%, making really decent money, and more money than I ever thought I would. And then somewhere along the line, that turned to like almost like blown up accounts. Just losing discipline, not able to cut losses. You can attribute some of it to the market, but for example, today SYPR looked at the market. There's no good trades. Someone in Powell, Texas, chatting to us and says, "I'm going to take this. What do you think?" And I took it without checking really any of the information, just because there was nothing else on. I took it with just 100 shares, very small size, $500 position. And the stock is 52-week highs, high volume. It's just got a defense contract, strong daily, strong intra-day chart. Everything about it is bullish. Took it anyway, and even though I knew that I was wrong, I added and added and added and added, which is what nearly caused us to blow up the last time. I'm currently writing a disciplined journal, trading diary, because I'm making the same mistake. What is going on? Yeah.
So I don't know the answer to this, Stephen. This is truly a genuine question that's just coming to mind. But do you find that this pattern of losing, does it always follow you winning for a period of time?
I think with a lot of people it does, but it actually, as we talk about this, it actually reminds us of an old session that we had when I actually first broke through profitable. After the sessions, we had some sessions, and I broke through profitable after the sessions, after 4 years of trying. So, but you asked me, what is the reason why you're trading? Ask yourself, why are you taking the trade? Is it what human need is it for? I mean, and I took that trade because I took the trade today because I don't really need the money right now. I took it solely because I wanted to feel the rush of making money. I can tell you hand on heart.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So great that you see that and can identify that. And the rush of making money, what ultimately is underneath that? What's the rush attached to? I'm going to answer my own question and see if this fits. Is it adventure?
Yeah. It's also that I made a mistake taking the trade in the first place, and I didn't want to take the loss because I didn't want to be punished for a stupid mistake, as silly as it sounds. If it's a good trade and I cut it, I don't mind taking that loss because I know it's the right thing to do. But somewhere along the line, I made a terrible trade, and I knew it was terrible, and I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to accept it. I wanted to get away with it. Totally.
Makes sense, human. We all want that. But I'm just curious, what is it? What is it that you would have, what is the story? Because when we avoid, like a lot of times the concept of shame is external because we don't want to look bad to somebody else. But
I probably didn't want to admit it. I would have had to admit it on Twitter.
To ourselves.
But I would have had to admit it on Twitter. Like, say I've got a $2,500 trade zero account. Say I blew the trade zero account up on one of the worst trades of my career. I did not want to put that on Twitter. Didn't want to do it. I probably would have had to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The irony is that I'm unpacking it in front of you anyway.
Exactly. Because I think you're of two minds, like we all are. On one hand, you want to speak the truth out loud. On the other hand, there is that internal gremlin that tells us we should be ashamed for our mistakes. And so that's what all of us are kind of up against, the concept of the shame. And so this is what I was trying to get to before we think about Twitter and people knowing about this publicly. There's an internal experience happening for you where you possibly are making yourself feel shame. Your gremlin is making you feel shame because you made a stupid mistake.
But do you know what else I think I get away with this most of the time. So I'll probably get away with it today. And you know what it is? I did get away with it today. $1,400 loss into a $300 win. Nothing big. I'm trading small, thank God. I'm trading smaller, so the mistakes are smaller. Wins are smaller too. But no, it's my life in lockdown in England is just there's no excitement.
Totally.
So the human need that I'm looking for the most is excitement.
So
getting that by taking bad trades and getting away with it.
possibly. So let's say if that excitement is that concept of adventure, is it possible for you to find a way to get your need for adventure met, not in your trading account?
Oh, there's two ways to approach this. And I want to stress as advice for other people. What changed my trading and got me profitable is when we had the chat and you said to me, are you consciously asking yourself the reason why am I taking this trade before you trade it? In the context of which human needs does it meet?
Yep.
Is it the human need of desire and success, in which case you'll take the correct probable trade that ultimately is geared towards long-term financial success? Yep. Or are you taking it for a different human need? Yep. To not be bored?
Well, it's security. I'm grabbing the needs list because I just want to look at it and just see if there's a couple of others there. So the other needs that it's possible that you're getting met in that trade, especially because of your public profile and because you're in a kind of communication with other people. It's possible too that sometimes your trades could be informed by connection, right? Because if you're in the game, you started this conversation about today that there really was nothing out there for you. And then this guy from Texas told you about this. So when you don't see anything that's going to work for you, and you just, and if you chose to not trade, what that potentially also means is that you don't get your need for connection met. You don't get your need for camaraderie met. You don't get your need for to see and be seen. Yeah,
because I was like, we'll be in this one together. That's what I always think when I'm about to take a trade. I'm like, my thought, just one thing quickly. The guy Texas, he's not from Texas. That's okay, just it. Gotcha. Funny. That's my Geordie accent. I'm saying Texas.
Sorry, he texted us. I was like, oh, he's in Texas.
I was like, oh, he Texas. But I'm saying it so fast, so slang.
That's great.
But there's also a funny once I was in America and I said, can I have a pint of lager? And they said, you want a pina colada? That's a whole. So don't worry, this thing happens a lot.
That's awesome.
But onto the serious, I didn't realize this in any way, but so basically just to give it more context, there's a couple of people that bought me guide that I just have a small WhatsApp group with just to help them.
Yeah. What's the name of your guide again? What's the name of your guide?
Payday pattern. Payday pattern.
Is that still for sale? That's still for sale on
I think it's not for sale anymore, but it might come up on sale again.
Okay, good.
But it's Payday pattern. It's my number one pattern that got us profitable. And I've got to help a small few people, like say if they're British and they bought the guide and they live close to me, I'm like, maybe we'll hang out one time.
Yeah, totally.
And this guy said, I'm short this stock at this position. I previously looked at it and thought, it's a terrible trade. But I was like, I'll just ride this one out with your small size. Mm-hmm. And so then he cut it.
It could be connection. Stephen.
I would never have thought in a million years though. But then I would think, well, why do I have the thought of I'll write this one with you? Why do I have that thought?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep. I think for a lot of traders, especially the social aspect of Twitter and chat rooms, it is connection.
But if I'm looking for connection, I'm saying I'll write this one with you. But then when I don't cut it, it's because I'm embarrassed because I know it's a bad one.
Right. Because it's possible that so this happens sometimes when we're trying to get our needs met. So it could be that you're trying to get your need for connection met, but then you also have a need for security. But and they're certainly like in that moment bouncing up against each other. And connection is what won, right? You have the need for security. But
because I have just moved into an apartment on my own.
But connection is a couple of things. Connection could be riding it with that guy, right? Being in something together with somebody and having a little bit of that, like, to see and be seen, to like be in it together. The guy cuts it and then you don't because you still have a need for adventure.
But it's also the embarrassment and the shame of being in it in the first place. But I think in a time when we're forced apart due to the lockdowns and the current situation, at times when we're forced apart, it might force people to make bad decisions for a need of connection. I agree with that.
Totally. Totally. But it's possible that sense of shame, is coming in because in the moment you got your need for connection met as soon as you went into the trade with him. But then afterwards you were like, oh, this actually wasn't in my best interest. And now I'm embarrassed to admit it to myself. And that part, I'm just curious about if you're okay staying there for a minute, because what would it take for you to be able to forgive yourself for getting your need for connection met in that way via a trade that you normally probably would have known better about? What would it take for you to be like, okay, I wanted to get my need for connection. I did it in a way that was pretty costly by taking a shitty trade. And now can I forgive myself for being human and now backing out? If you can make yourself not feel awful about that understandable need for connection, then you potentially get out of it without feeling too ashamed of yourself.
I mean, look, there's a couple of times, because all traders talk, there's a couple of times I've followed people into trades and lost money. And my dad's always said, Stephen, you're too good at trading to be following other people, period. You're too good at it. And that sticks with us a lot. And it hurts to make the mistake again.
Yeah, I guess.
Because I've made it a few times now. Recently, I've made it a couple of times.
But if your motive is not because you're blind to the trade not being good, if your motive is connection, then that tells me you have to get your need for connection met in other ways that are less costly.
So do I have to go on Tinder?
I don't know that it's necessarily Tinder, but perhaps it's you doing your own sort of contribution to somebody else. It's a human need to have connection, not just sexual connection, but like human connection.
Tinder is not sexual, by the way. Not in Newcastle anyway. In Newcastle, no. Okay. People meet and date and make friends.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. In Hawaii,
maybe it's been a while.
Different thing.
I was in New York. I thought Tinder was just a hookup site, but
some people can use it that way, but that's certainly not. That's certainly not the way I was. No, like in Dubai, you would make friends with people and stuff like that.
That's amazing. So connection, though, there's sexual expression, that's a need, but connection, pure connection is not always sexual. It's just the concept of being with people who get you, that you get. That sense of being understood, the sense of speaking the language. Like trading is its own country. It's its own culture. So I would say if you notice you're about to be tempted by a trade that you know isn't good, ask yourself, how can I get my need for connection met? And maybe that means you wind up being a contribution, just like the Instagram, like I'm doing. Like maybe that's like you saying, hey guys, I'm here to help you with your trading because I don't see any trades today that are mine. So I'm going to be a contribution to you. Just see. It may not work. Just
it's a very good way of doing it. But I mean, you don't know that you're going to make the mistake until you've made it. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of stopping.
Well, if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, agree.
I think there are times when you almost turn the dial back on paying attention, all of us, when we have a very unmet need.
But it's just this happens over and over and over. Every time the market's quiet, day one, I'm disciplined. Look at how disciplined I am. I've learned I'm not taking a trade. Day two, I'm going to compromise my setups a bit. Like this is a bit silly. Day three, boom, terrible mistake.
So instead, how about day one? You say, okay, looks like the market is not, and I know that I'm going to need connection still. I know I'm going to need adventure still, and get other things started up. Start cooking other pots.
But I've seen this to my dad. Do you know what it is? My mum and dad know this, and I don't even know. My mum and dad are like, you need things to do because when the markets go quiet, you're making mistakes and you're losing money. And buying a surfboard and a wetsuit, there's good surfing where I live. Buying a surfboard and a wetsuit is a lot cheaper than the market mistakes and a lot funner.
Dude, surfing is the best absolute best practice for you to get even better as a trader. Did you watch that Shane Dorian? Remember the Shane Dorian interview?
Yeah. What did he say?
Oh my God. He talked about the fact that one of the biggest waves, like because, these guys follow the patterns of the waves globally. Yeah. And he said there was going to be these waves. If it wasn't in the Philippines, it was in Portugal, I think. And he was talking about, it was like kind of, when he heard about it, he had to buy a ticket like days ahead of time. Yeah. So it was a crazy expensive ticket. He shut down all of these other things he was supposed to do. It cost him, I think he said, I don't know, somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 for him to make heaven and earth move to get to that wave. When he got there, he noticed he was jet lagged. He noticed he didn't have his juju.
Yeah.
He said there were so many variables that I knew. These are big waves. He's a big wave surfer.
Yeah.
So this is life and death shit, right? And he was like, I'm not in the zone.
Yeah.
And he didn't surf. That is exactly what you're talking about with your trades. Being able to go through that checklist before you take a trade. And if all of those things aren't lined up, you don't take the wave, you don't take the trade. What do you do instead? I would say you start to think about surfing as a great practice to discipline even the trading.
Yeah, but
because
it's
out there,
perfect.
It's
perfect. It works on different levels, right? It works on different levels that you'll remember the concept, you'll remember the story. I'm going to go out surfing because I know the story behind the guy who's a disciplined surfer.
Correct. And the people also, even in my limited time surfing, I can tell you that it is the perfect metaphor physically in the sense of your memory, your physical memory. When you are on that board, if you are thinking about the wave you just successfully took, or you're thinking about the one about to come, you fall off the board. Yeah. It forces you consistently to be in the present moment.
It's a beautiful thing. And with nature, it's beautiful on so many levels.
It's so beautiful. I think you would love it, dude. I think you would love it.
Do you know, there's a beautiful poster that I've just bought, and it's you've got the skies. I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram. You've got a huge skyline, and then you've got a huge sea line, and you've got a guy just sitting meditating on the edge of a cliff. So he's in kind of the middle of the pointy cliff, and he's sitting on the top. I'll send you.
Please do.
He's so small and so insignificant in comparison to the grandeur of his environment. And whoever's created the painting, the illustrating that, as humans, we are merely part of Earth. Yeah. We're merely just a small part, yet we act as if we are the dominant force on it.
Agreed. And that's why it's a practice, right? So every time, and this is why I'm such a huge advocate of not making yourself wrong, right? Because the more we shame ourselves, the less chance we have at changing ourselves.
You know, we can not go a single podcast when it's just me and you without it ending in spirituality.
It's so true. But like, this is why it's so important. Like, how can you meet yourself in that mistake the next time, not shame yourself and just be like, oh, this was me attempting to get a need met in a costly way, because you will change that pattern much quicker and that habit if you don't beat the hell out of yourself.
I have to know though, but it's about knowing for me. Like now that I know, I'm like, I just saw someone take a trade. Am I taking this trade for that reason again? What am I thinking and feeling inside right now?
Well, yeah, the thing is though, your ability to stay disciplined around that is going to be dependent on whether your need for connection and adventure get nourished. Yeah. If you don't get those, if you don't get nourished on adventure and connection, you're not going to have the ability to withstand that temptation, because in a way that is a fast food solution to your need for connection and adventure. It's like fast food. It's so tempting. You don't have to get out of your car. You get that little hit of connection in that moment, but you know it's going to cost you later. So the key is first, let's work at getting you connection and getting you adventure met. then you'll have the discipline to potentially stop yourself from
Yeah,
going.
no, I love what you're saying there, because it's right. You'll do, even if you know that it's wrong, you'll do it again because it feels good. And that's what people do with McDonald's every day.
But it's not just because it feels good. It's because you are actually hungry. You're hungry for true nourishment.
Yeah.
The connection and adventure. So if you focus only on, well, I'm not going to do what feels good. No, it's not going to work. It's like, how do we get connection first met for you and adventure? If you start getting those met much more than you currently are getting them met, you will find those that you won't even be tempted.
Yeah.
Because you have your need for connection already met before you came to that trade that you can see as lousy.
It's connection and adventure, but
I think it is.
But with surfing, I don't know how it's connection. I suppose you're out in the waves, you're with other people, you've got a connection to people, a connection to nature.
I don't know if surfing is going to be connection. I think it'll be adventure, unless you become friends with some of the surfers at that spot.
Yeah, for sure. But it may be adventure on a slow day is really the human need that I need. I don't know how much it's connection. It's a bit connection. It's good to ride it with someone. It's good to have an adventure with someone, but
find connection. I think maybe both. Maybe the adventure around that, the concept of getting adventure met with surfing, but then connection when you feel that, when you don't see trades that for yourself work, and you hear somebody else has got something, maybe you can support him. Like, what if you didn't take that trade with him that day, but you stayed in it with him and helped him and coached him through it?
But maybe if I'm a surfer and I have my human needs met, I recognize that earlier, and then I can coach it in the right way. But so I mean, look, I think that's the problem kind of solved, right? You need to replace. You need to have your human needs met to stop making the problems, because otherwise they're too tempting to repeat.
They are, because you're still in need of that nourishment. And honestly, look, we don't know that it's connection and venture. It sounds like it might be, but
so if you still just try it,
have that, or look at the universal needs list. Look at them and ask yourself at that moment with him, when he told you about that trade, and you knew, oh, I'm not so sure about
boredom.
this.
It's almost boredom. It's just boredom, lack of adventure.
So look at the needs list and see what are the other needs that maybe you thought you were going to get met in that. And that just helps us nail it down, right? It could be a couple of needs, could be more than just connection and adventure.
But I think it is that, because I always wondered for many, many, many years. I mean, like I've had some fabulous years in Dubai. But I always wondered for many years, what's the point in life? Like, why are people going to work in a job that they don't like, to finish at 6 o'clock, to watch TV programs on Netflix that they've seen before and be bored, then lie in bed awake, struggling to get to sleep, only to wake up the next morning and do it again? This is the lives of a lot of people, most people. And I always just thought, what's the point in life if that's life? And I've been asking this question for years, and I thought it was a question that didn't have an answer. And I found out the answer like 3 weeks ago.
What's the answer?
The answer, the question is, what's the point in life? And the answer is to live it. It's to live it fully, conscious, present, with human needs met, doing the things that make you feel alive and good and grateful.
That's right.
It's tough.
But I think one of your needs is contribution. And I think that is also possibly part of why this pandemic has been costly to you, because being locked down, like, you don't get to be as much a contribution to people and friends. And so that's where I think I see you get nourished with that when you make a difference in somebody's life and with your YouTube channel. So think about, maybe it's contribution too. How can you be a little bit more of a contribution? Not so much because of the benefits to other people, but because it nourishes you.
Yeah. But we're coming out of lockdown and stuff like that now. But I mean, I can tell you, from when we first spoke to now, no, I mean, it's night and day difference. Night and day difference to health and wealth and happiness.
It's beautiful.
And
well done. Well done.
Well, it's just a lot of living the life that you want. Got to do trading, got to do the hours I wanted to do, got to work in advertising for the clients that I want to work for.
Totally.
Got to do what I want when I want.
The book that's coming to me for you, did you ever read Anthony DeMeo's book called Awake?
No, I've never read any book.
Oh, that's
I've read like 4 books in the all authors of podcasts that I had to read before they come on. But I'll get the Audible. I promise you. Is it good?
It's so good. I don't know if it's an Audible. I hate to break
it will.
It
probably will be. Most
be,
popular books
kind of
are.
It's kind of old. It's not that popular. It's not that popular.
But I can get it off Amazon, and but I've got a couple of books and like all of them I haven't finished. But I'll try and just reminders on it, and I can get it.
I will. It feels like we're having an earthquake right now, so I'm a little distracted.
I can hear it a little bit. I can hear that coming through the mic. Yeah.
I think it's like, and yesterday I'm pretty sure we had one too. And as a New Yorker, I'm not used to earthquakes even. They're very scary to me.
I think it's just God's way of just saying that he agrees with the conversation right now. And it's just a small acknowledgement to say like, I'm with you, brother and sister.
That's it. Anyway, the book's amazing, life-changing, such a great sense of humor, this guy, Anthony DeMeo. He just, straight shooter, dude, straight shooter. I think I don't know, it keeps coming to me and I'm thinking, you would like this. You would like this. So yeah,
I'll try and check it out if I remember.
Should we close it up?
We can wrap it up though. Yeah, no, I think we've unpacked it, right? I think we've done a pretty good job unpacking it. So
I would say just follow this, test it. If this doesn't work, if this concept of venture, if you get a venture mat and connection mat, do you still take trades that you know are not ideal? That's all you're looking at right now. But focus on how do you get connection mat and adventure mat and maybe even contribution mat more. And remember, we can only give of our abundance, not of our substance. So we have to get that oxygen mask on ourselves. We have to get our lungs filled up. And I think you just might need to get more met.
It makes huge sense because when the market's on fire, you're regularly getting them met. But at the moment the market gets quiet, you're like, it's gone. But
Correct.
So other people can have this, not in this length, I guess, not in this length and depth, but other people can experience what I've experienced. Other people can be in the hot seat. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays. What's your Instagram? Kim Ann Curtin. At Kim Ann Curtin.
At Kim Ann Curtin. Yeah. So come on. We're having a good time, and when we're lucky, Stephen comes and blesses us with his presence.
I can do it more now that I'm in my own place and stuff like that, and I'm not waking up my parents.
Good. I'm excited for your new place. Mazel tov.
It's done. I'm there. I'm just the Wi-Fi's here, so I'm back at my parents just for that reason.
Okay, good. I'm happy.
Heading back in a minute.
So happy. Good job. Congrats, man. It's a big deal.
Thank you.
It's a good feeling. All right, so we'll wrap it up there then. So thank you for watching. Stephen and I go deep. Tim will be sorry he missed us, but we
will he? I do not know. He goes deep with weights. We go deep in mind and deep in spirit. He will go have a seminar with Jacko Willing, but we'll be with Sam Harris.
I was dying to tell him yesterday. I met somebody who's never heard of him, and I was like, really? You never heard Jocko Willink? They're like, no. I was like,
I didn't know him, to be honest, until Joe Rogan. Okay. No, I mean, he's uber American, right? He's uber American for Americans.
For sure.
Joe Rogan's more universal. He's crossed the
couple
seas.
of
I don't
cultures.
know how or why. Yeah, and cultures.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching us, and give us comments in this post. If you like these conversations, should Stephen and I have more of them? Do you like us to go deep and heavy? Go deep and heavy. And if you want us to speak, of course, to anything, you can always tell us. We really do read the comments, and we pay attention to what you guys want more of. So thank you for watching. Thank you for trusting me again, Stephen, with the coaching of you. You're very, very courageous young man.